Sunrise in the African bushveld. Sunrise on a really beautiful day after some rain. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve in Arathusa. My name is Mark and we're about to head out on our morning game drive. Brian on camera. And the thumb, has the thumb got a name?
No, it doesn't.
Oh.
It doesn't yet.
Just the thumb. Vim is in final control. The three of us are going to be bringing you the best that we can here at in the Greater Kruger National Park, part of the Greater Kruger Park, private area known as Djuma Game Reserve, in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve. And if that sounds confusing, just let me know and I can try and enlighten you. We're sitting up near Zoe's Road. We got some giraffe nearby. There were some leopard tracks, but it's just a really beautiful early morning. Sunrise was about just after 5 this morning, just around about the time we left Manyeleti, about an hour ago. So it's already well into the day. There are termites flying, very tiny little termites flying, which I'm sure we're going to see birds catching, if we're lucky. And the most beautiful light to go and find something to film. Looking into the western side, we've got a really beautiful silvery band of trees known as the silver cluster leaf. A very distinctive line of them, which is because they grow in a very specific place. The ecotone between the crest of a katina, or the crest of a seapline, and the slope itself. And an indication of this is where the seapline can begin. Normally good grass is below the line of terminalias. Silver cluster leaf. Had a little bit of rain again overnight, which has left a little bit of dew-like droplets on the leaves. It seems like we have a family of giraffe that have been hanging around on Djuma for some time now. We've seen them in various different places. Today they're up here near the entrance road to Vuyatela. And I want to just sit with them a little while. There were leopard tracks on this road this morning when we came in. And I believe there was a leopard shouting, oh no, there were alarm calls near the lodge, just below the lodge, Vuyatela Lodge, which can most likely mean that this leopard might have headed down there, which means that he might be around the dam. Questions and comments can be sent to questions@WildEarthTV. Those of you who are new, nice to hear from you if you are. Or follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. And I've lost a family of giraffe. There they are. We'll be able to catch up to them over there. But I just want to look at the light. In fact, you can almost do a focus pull. The light in the morning light coming through the spider web. A giraffe through gossamer strands. Maybe back a little bit. It's called a silky giraffe. The silky giraffe. The noise is particular. A lot of cloud activity. The very low cloud moving quite fast across the sky. There's some very high moisture showing a little bit of high cloud. But at the moment some lovely morning sunshine that hopefully is going to stay. Hopefully we're going to get more blue. Okay, let's go around onto the other road and have a look. The giraffe. Oh, wow. They're making so much noise. Some birds that were just alarming, but they were right next to us. I couldn't see anything. Testiculars, I think. Beautiful shot. Mom, dad, and child. Mom and child looking out towards Vuyatela. Back a bit, maybe get dad into. He's behind that bush. Not interested in us at all. So there's something that the other female is also looking out towards quarantine. Give baby a kiss and a rub. Tender moments between mother and child. You see how she, little one, tried to drink, but mom blocked her. I think it's a little girl. As soon as she puts her head down there, the mother moves the back leg forward and knocks the little one with her thigh. Just as a, yeah, not now, child, I'm busy. I'm watching this. Something that is drawing her attention. Coming behind us. An elephant bull, that's what it is. She's watching an elephant bull. See, when you watch other animals, you can find things. Yeah.
Looks like he was getting upset about something.
Yeah. Elephant was also... He's gone, he's going down the road. Morning, Dawn. Question from Dawn on this dawn of ours. Mishu was one of Karula's cubs, was named Dawn. Well, Mishu means dawn. Dawn wanted to know if giraffes stay together as a family. This one does. Not always, Dawn. Not always. Often we might find only females and calves without a bull present. It's not often that we find giraffe in this family group like this with the bull present, as often as we've been seeing him. But it's not a written rule as to how giraffe associate with each other, or rather what type of group that they live in. Female groups will often have males that will come and join them for short periods or indefinite periods. This is what we could be experiencing here. I wonder where he went, that elephant. I'm going to go forward a little. Might be able to see the antics of this little one. Question from Christian or Kristen. Are these reticulated giraffe? What's the difference between reticulated giraffe and Rothschild? Kristen. Reticulated giraffe and Rothschild giraffe. Well, these are neither, Kristen, these are neither Rothschild nor reticulated. These are southern giraffe. And the difference between Rothschild and reticulated is very distinct because, well, the reticulated giraffe is a very distinct patterning, and the Rothschild giraffe almost has 4 ossicones or 4 horns as opposed to all the other subspecies. There's a debate as to how many subspecies there really are, and it's more, I suppose, the distribution of all the different giraffe. But the variety and patterns can vary even within the subspecies. I mean, we could have, even with these 2 cows that we've got here, the one moving to the right now, which I'm assuming is Mom, and this other cow to the left of the little one, if you try and look closely at their patterns, the one passing the little one now, this big female, if you look at the outlines of her pattern, the borders of the dark patches are very very distinct. They're almost whole borders, and then so is the little one actually. But then if we go to the well, she's hiding behind a tree now, but the other female has a completely different patterning to her. The borders are very jagged to her markings. The reticulated giraffe found up in northern Kenya only has it's almost like a flagstone effect. Much bigger patterning, very distinct markings. I'll have to bring out my mammal book to show you a picture. Mammals. Must be this one. Books are so tight. Also, if you look at his wonderfully dark markings, we try and get close up on them. They're very jagged around the edges. Morning, Christy in Michigan. How old is this little one? Hello, little one. Look, you're getting so used to it. I'll put little one at a few months. Maybe 2 or 3 months. Good morning, Jane. How? It's best I move. I got my nose in the book. Morning, Jane. How long do they suckle and how are they weaned? Probably suckles for only about 6 months, or 6 to 8 months maybe. I'm not really sure. I haven't really ever seen one on a consistent basis. Whenever you live in an area in the bush, giraffe always cover fairly large areas. Not very often you get to see the same ones over and over when they're merely a road is a boundary, and if they cross that road they move off of Djuma. And back home, if I see giraffe, I very seldom will get to see the same giraffe over a lengthy period of time. But as far as weaning is concerned, probably already from the 2nd month they're starting to feed a little bit of taste trees. See, they will feed where the parents feed, where the mother feeds mostly. I mean, here I've got all 3 adults feeding on the same sickle bush. All that lovely new fresh green growth. Before it becomes too bitter when the tannins start kicking in. Morning, Hal. Longevity of the giraffe in the wild, probably about 25, I would say, if they're lucky. I don't think ever up to 30 years, but on average 25, maybe a few years more. I'm starting to think that this calf is maybe a little bit older, and one of the reasons why she might be discouraging it from suckling, because maybe it's time to move it off. Maybe she stopped. I can see she's still lactating, but she's probably trying to encourage it to browse more, which it's doing actually more on its own, away from them, eating on its own sickle bush. Hello, Kim. Kim wanting to know about whether they're territorial or not. Not really, Kim. I guess you could say they have very large home ranges and they have very large areas that they will move seasonally, and I guess always coming back to familiar areas, different seasons. I need to get in. maybe not. Sure. A question we do have quite often about animals falling ill, or variations of that type of question, and whether we intervene. Jen, we're in the middle of one of the biggest national parks in Africa. One can't intervene. There is a policy that if an animal is injured, or if there's an issue with an animal that has been caused by human negligence, it's perhaps important to intervene, and it often depends on the species of animal. Generally speaking, natural illnesses or injuries they've got to go their own course. Animals are resilient, they heal very well. Nature would not have made them otherwise. And animals have been around for millions of years before we invented veterinary science and the ability to fix things, but also just the vast numbers of animals. It's physically impossible to monitor every single animal, and it's virtually impossible to treat some things without interfering in a way that stresses the animal out so much that it can actually kill the animal merely by interfering, as opposed to the animal having the resilience and the ability to either heal or get better on its own. You've got to remember that to assist a wild animal, an animal that does not want to be close to humans on foot or doesn't want to be touched by humans, one has to dart the animal, one has to give it a muscle relaxant that renders it virtually incapable of moving, yet it is still awake. It can still hear and see and suppose to some extent feel what is going on. And if you had to try and imagine being a wild animal, an animal that has never been in that kind of a situation, to suddenly be put down by a drug and suddenly have many people around it holding it, injecting it, doing all sorts of things to it. I mean, it's pretty close to alien abduction stuff, for what kind of stories people tell of how traumatic it is to be so helpless. And then of course to be woken up and the after effects of the drug. But the stress of doing that can induce something called capture myopathy, which is a fatal condition as a result of extreme stress or duress. So very, very often, very, very often, we just have to accept what nature does. And an animal's ability to overcome either an illness or an injury is nature's way of ensuring that that animal is a strong individual, and it's an individual that needs to procreate to pass on the genes of being such a strong individual. I've been on a number of exercises where, or I don't know what we could call it, exercises where we've darted animals because they've been caught in snares or because there's been some life-threatening injury as a result of either snares or other things that humans have caused. What's she doing? She's having a scratch on her front leg. Or is she testing it? Can't really see that. Maybe I can move back a bit if she's going to do more of that. Just rubbing the inside of her front legs on that tree, a very low little rain tree. Now eating buffalo thorn. I heard just behind her, could hear elephant feeding. It's very difficult having a passion for wildlife and having very deep feelings for animals, to see animals in distress, to see animals injured. But most of the time, one doesn't really linger too long because it's very difficult to watch. But it is something that, being a naturalist, at the back of my mind, I always have to remind myself that this is what's been happening for millions of years. We can't change how nature works, and we also got to look at the other aspect of injured animals, and animals that are not doing too well. From a predator's point of view, there are predators that are dependent on an injured animal or a sick animal. I don't see too many sick animals, but certainly one finds injuries, either injuries from attempted hunts or injuries from being hunted and being chased at night and running into things, or injuries from fighting when it comes to males. I'm going to move on a little bit. Let's just see what we can find with that elephant. Sorry, we were zoomed in there. They seem to be moving towards the open area, so we can catch up with them shortly. I'd like to just follow up on a couple of things. I'd like to spend time with giraffe. Let's see where this big bull is. And then I want to have a look around, see if there's any sign of cat. Morning, Kathy in Arizona. Kathy wants to know what animals hunt giraffe. Mostly lion, Kathy. Lion can bring down adult bulls, big as this big bull. I've known leopard to take baby giraffe, but that's got to be a really big leopard. The one that I've seen was a very big leopard. Hyena will probably take youngsters. I've seen hyenas take youngsters after lion had killed the mother. And there are some cheetah that have learned how to hunt giraffe in some places, but only youngsters too, not adults. This bull is right here, big. Is he one tusker or no tusker? And some buffalo too, lying down on the open. Morning, Temple. It's this one tusker with the big tail. We saw him the other day, and I thought he was the one of the one tuskers from my part of the world. I'm going to come to the eastern side of him. Clouds moving in. We've lost our lovely sunshine. Standing under the marula tree, eating on a few marula branches. Almost having a bit of a nap by the looks of things. Wearing a branch on his head. And we might be lucky to have the giraffe coming through the background. They're still about 50 yards away from that line of bush. No, he's busy with marula branches. Now, of course, I have no idea what happened to his left tusk, whether he had one to begin with. It looks like him, hard to tell, but where the upper lip curls over the tusk, as you can see on his right, on our left, looks like he might have had a tusk there that has broken off. Very difficult. I'd have to see if he was to stretch up towards another branch, pull down another branch and open his mouth, might be able to get a glimpse. If it did break, it would have been rather painful for a while, because the root of the the nerve of the tusk would have been affected. Like chipping a front tooth very close to the gum. Of course, essentially that's what the tusk is. It's one of the front teeth, one of the incisors. Interesting question, Sherry, Iowa. I want to see him pull these branches down. I don't really want to drive off the road. It's a bit delicate after the rain. Sherry in Iowa. It's difficult for him with only one tusk. Not really. I think for some of the tuskless bulls, things get a little bit difficult. Or any of the tuskless elephants. They can't strip bark and break things the way elephants can that do have tusks. He's got a little bit of a groove, almost a bit of a chip in the tip of his tusk. He's going to go straight for these buffalo. Hello boys. Buffalo, not too sure what he's going to do. Can smell a little bit of a must smell coming from this bull. Yeah, see, he's just being what we call mafufunyan. He didn't really have to move the buffalo, but elephants do that. So he could have walked anywhere else, but he had to move in the exact path where the buffalo were lying down. So just to say, no, I was going to come this way. You were lying in my path, even though it's a big open area. Coming up to another marula tree. It's probably also testing to see if any fruits. There are some fruits that have been. Oh, that's what I wanted him to do, to see if there's a little tusk stub there, but I just couldn't get the right angle. Stand on it. Use your foot. No, I don't have to do that. A lot of moisture in the branches of the marula at the moment. Also, I suppose there are other things, other elements of the marula branches that elephants like at certain times. Also part of their roughage, the necessary roughage that they need for their digestive system. I can hear monkeys shouting. We should go down in front of the lodge now. Oh. It's a dilemma. Stay with him. Go and see why the monkeys shout. Go back to the giraffe. Stay with the buffalo. Okay, evidently a number of people wanting to know who's out on the jigger this morning. It's Mark and Brian. Scott will be back today. Scott has been away for a couple of days. He had to go to, I think he went to a wedding. I'm sure when he comes back you can find out more. Although, I suppose it's irrelevant. He was away for a couple of days. Alex is taking a break. He's been on. No, we got to go. Those monkeys are shouting. We got to try and get down in front of. We'll come back to you, boy. We'll find you later. We're gonna have to get in front of the Lager camp. There is a leopard there. These 4 buffalo bulls will probably make their way to the dam a little bit later. I believe the camera's been down. I'll have to contact Pete, see what we can do about it. So, if you haven't met me yet, my name is Mark. Hi. Alex has been driving for a couple of days now because he had the lion 2 days ago, and I thought he should follow up on them yesterday morning. I was supposed to come in yesterday afternoon. Brian and I were bringing the jigger in to do a double vehicle drive again, but unfortunately Jigger is sick. Jigger is the other Land Rover, just like this one, and there's an issue that is difficult to resolve for even the most experienced of mechanics. Anyway, so Brian and I sat out in the bush. We broke down and we sat out there for about 3 hours till Well, finally we managed to get it going again, enough to get it back to camp, back to where we stay. And it's just not feasible to bring it out. So I've been out of the driver's seat, out of this seat for a couple of days, and I was needed an elephant, and I needed to be out here after the rain. I can't not drive for too long. Scott gets back today, he might be out tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. If I find something this afternoon, I might want to follow up on it tomorrow. At the moment we do only have the one vehicle, so we'll be taking turns. Alex will be back in final control, and every now and then he will fill in for Scott and myself if we're up and running full steam, in which case we'll both be pretty much busy all day every day. And it'll be nice to have a break, and I'm sure it'll be nice for Alex to get out again. Did a fantastic job for his first drive. Also, it's just incredible behavior that we were able to watch those lion and kahumas. Incredible behavior. Interaction, playing, climbing trees, falling out of trees. Cats, when they make mistakes, have a wonderful way of correcting themselves and making it look as though they meant to do that in the first place. I was riveted. I was sitting in FC with Brian, and it was quite incredible. I was green with envy. Wanted to be out there as well. Well, today's my turn. Already started off with a wonderful morning. Want to see the monkeys that are shouting. When monkeys are alarm calling, one needs to be very close to them, try and get to see what they're shouting at. Once it moves off and they lose sight of it, they continue shouting, but when you can make out that they're not looking at the predator anymore, because they'll be looking in various different directions. But it's when they can still see the predators, when one wants to get close to the primates, whether it's monkeys or baboon. You want to be close to them so you can see where it is that they're actually shouting. Normally they can pick up a predator from that. I'm guessing somewhere down below the lodge in the riverbed, in the Murwati. And this ties in with the tracks that I found this morning, coming along Zoe's Road, coming north up Zoe's Road, and turning east and coming towards the camp. Looks like a male leopard by the size of the tracks. Yeah. To get down in front of the camp takes a little while, so it's possibly going to be too late to follow the monkeys, but we can just find tracks or something. Meow. Kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty, kitty. What's that? Hippo tracks. When the mind is on leopard, then tree stumps and all sorts of things look like leopards. Aha, you can see monkeys in trees above the lodge now. Just hope that they still got a cat in sight. road is no longer a road. See a little track going down here. I knew what I did with my binoculars. I thought I left them here, but I had them in the digger yesterday, didn't I? Probably left them there. They're not shouting anymore, so they can't see the cat anymore. And they're all looking more into the lodge rather than over the dam. On the lower right is a female with a youngster, hugging her youngster. Okay. Don't think we're going to have much luck here. If they're not shouting anymore. Vital that when monkeys see something, and their alarm calls are very distinct. When it is a leopard, they have a different alarm call for other predators, whether it's an aerial predator or a ground predator. But even then, there's a distinction between, say, a leopard and a snake. Lion, they don't seem to bother too much about. They will alarm for lion, but not with the intensity and with the same kind of voices as they do for leopard. Leopard, I suppose, being one of the main predators of the primates, is probably the most, or stresses them out the most. So you get a much more intense alarm call from a troop of monkeys when there's leopard. Well, we'll do a big loop around past the dam and then go back towards elephant and giraffe for now. And this cat is clearly hanging around. Another angle, another view of those monkeys. The mast is a lightning conductor. It's something that most thatched houses have to have, especially for insurance purposes. But in terms of safety, any thatched building needs a lightning conductor next to it to prevent accidents. So, although it's a beautiful picture of the little troop of monkeys sitting in the sun, marred by the presence of a lightning conductor. Beautiful colour in the sky with some cloud and sunshine. quite a lot of mushrooms, and then there's going to be a lot more coming out after this kind of a rain, this soaking rain that makes everything damp. A lot of the piles of animal dung, particularly elephant dung, are going to have fungi growing out of them. I find they're very interesting fungi. Quite a difficult subject to learn about. Mushrooms. Nostril of a sleeping hippo. Hippo don't have to consciously come up for air, they can sleep and their body will naturally breathe, bring the nose up, pop the nose out and take in another breath. Well, there seems to be a bit of movement there. That's the nostrils coming out. Morning, Sandy in Texas. Sandy wants to know if we know where Karula is. Nobody knows where Karula is, Sandy. Otherwise we would go and see her. It's a matter of trying to find her tracks or where she's been. She was evidently seen a few days ago by one of the vehicles. They couldn't find her again, and being a few days ago, she could be anywhere. You see that nyala clear that fence? It's gone. A couple of nyala bulls up in the open. There was one of them that was inside the fence of the lodge, and he effortlessly just hopped over it. Egyptian geese and their goslings too. Let's go forward a little, catch up with the gucks and their gucklings. Geese and goslings. Nicknamed gucks here at Djuma, the Egyptian geese. There was a time when the camera was on them and people were unsure of whether they were geese or ducks, so they became known as gucks. All 7 of them. No, they're taking them into the water for safety. Because we're looking at them, they think that they're threatened. Okay, I'm going to leave them be. I don't want to stress them too much. Babies were feeding, the little ones were feeding on the edge, and they need to do that. Too vulnerable out on the water as well. There is a grey heron there, and the grey heron has been known to be able to take youngsters. See, the whole concept of what we do is every morning nobody knows where the animals are. We know that there'll be hippo in the water, yes. We don't know which dam they might be in. They chop and change quite a bit. But we never know where any animal is going to be, and that's why we drive around with anticipation, wondering what we're going to find around the next corner. And in the few thousand acres that will be Karula's territory, she could be anywhere. In a few thousand acres. I'd love to see her. I'd love to know her status. Pregnancy-wise, or whether she's given birth, whether she's suckling. And then if we're lucky to be able to follow her, maybe to find her little ones. 3 Nyala bulls. Just, but another oops. Right, done a big circle around the camp. We've got a fence, if you can notice it on my right. Fence, the owner's house is fenced off. Just coming back to where the alley was. Seems he must have maybe moved. Buffalo have settled down again. We dropped a branch here. He's gone back that way. This is a fresh marula branch that he must have dropped. We just missed him. Alarm call of the go-away bird. Well, the alarm call is almost a go-away sound. And the contact call, oh, look at these two children. Hello, babies. When they're talking to each other, actually contact calls it's nothing like that. This will make a noise like a cock, 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 cock. They chatter. They don't do the go away. Oh. Okay, we've got a fry. So Elvin must have gone down towards Twin Dams Road. Come this way. Been zebra and wildebeest here, rolling in the sand. Zebra, zebra, zebra. That's the zebra. Morning, Chris in Adelaide. Well, good evening, good afternoon, Chris. Adelaide. Good few hours ahead of us. Some of the Shangaan name for the animals. Well, we're looking for that in Ndlovu at the moment. Ndlovu, spelled N-D-L-O-U-V-E. No, N-D-L-O-V-U. N-D-L-O-V-U. Ndlovu. When you have two consonants next to each other in some of the African languages, here's elephant tracks here, elephant dung, good fresh by the looks of things. He's already come past here. He's on a mission. Test the temperature of it just to make sure it's his, or maybe another one. I've gone down Twin Dams Road. Already, the little time that it took us to go around Gowrie Dam, he's already headed down Twin Dams Road, so follow him. In Swahili, elephant is tembo, T-E-M-B-O, tembo. The dung was very, very warm. It hasn't been out of an elephant long. I'm guessing it is him, kind of the trajectory of where he was walking. I'm surprised he didn't come to the dam. Maybe he just doesn't, it's early, it's cool. Maybe he just doesn't need to drink right now. Maybe he's on a mission for something else. What else can I tell you? There's in Nyati. I'm telling you about the two consonants together, as in Ndlovu, or even Djuma is often mispronounced as, you don't pronounce both of the vowels, or rather the consonants, separately. It's not the Djuma, as some might call it. You combine the two, so it's Djuma. It's not Ndlovu, it's Ndlovu. It's like just saying the N, the N sound, and then almost like humming when there's an N or an M. And then you go, and then you start with the D, so you do the N hum and then the D, so Ndlovu. Ndlovu. And I suppose in Nyati is a little bit different because there's or Nyari actually in Shangaan. Nyati is Zulu. Oops, sorry Brian, bumping you around. Sometimes an I in front of the N, but then it doesn't make it very difficult because there's a Y instead of another consonant after the N. Easier to pronounce. The suburb, not a suburb, the province of South Africa that we're in is the province of Mpumalanga. M starts with an MP. It's not ma because there's no vowel, so you don't use the M as an M. You just half silent, so it's Mpumalanga. It's like saying Mpumalanga. Means the east, where the sun comes up or comes out. I guess elephants down in the drainage line. Gives me a direction to drive in, and often that is how we find things. We just end up going on a particular road because something pointed us in that direction, and then it's nice to just go in that direction, see what they might do. The elephant left the road, he's gone down into the Mulwati River, or river bed. If we get a big storm of, say, anywhere between 50 and 100 millimeters, anywhere between 2 and 4 inches, pretty sure the riverbed will have water in it. These rains have soaked the soil nicely, so there'll be a lot of runoff if there is a big rain. That will get some of the drainage lines flowing. A couple of days ago the jasmine was all wilting, and look at it now, coming back in full force. Beautiful. Patches of little snow are growing in guarri bush, growing in other bushes, the jasmine creepers. Patches of white everywhere. Scenting at night, it would be lovely to drive on one of these roads with a lot of jasmine. Sweet scent of it. There's a lot of it here. Called Ingwe, I-N-G-W-E, Ingwe. Impala are called Mala, M-A-L-A. Giraffe have a nice name, Tulamiti, although that's Zulu. The actual Shangaan name is, forget, wild hibiscus. There's a nice wild hibiscus showing its face. Stop and listen. Oh, what happened?
It's still broken from, it broke. So I just need to try and do something.
Okay. Trying to fix the antenna. Something on that petal. Little beetle of sorts. And then just above these hibiscus growing on the grass, in the grasses, is a buffalo thorn that is coming into bloom. Now, it's one of these trees that doesn't have a very showy bloom. I don't know if you can make out any of those flowers, maybe just that overhanging branch. Tiny little yellow flowers, hard to make them out on camera. I'd have to park right next to a buffalo thorn. We could see that better. still haven't seen a fruiting sour plum, but I've seen a lot of skins of the sour plum. I was asked a while ago which are the edible fruits, and at different times of the year there are a number of different edible fruits that we get. Interestingly, most of the fruits that we get out here are very high in vitamin C. The sour plum being no exception, in fact one of the highest vitamin C. The cuckoo drying its wings. I think it's a Jacobin cuckoo. Can't see the front of it. I'm lost without my binoculars. I must make sure I have them next time. I think I left them in the jigger yesterday. It could be a striped cuckoo. We have to have a look at the breast for that. Sitting in a gardenia. Some of these gardenias might actually flower after this rain, although they're flowering. Their flowering time was earlier in the season. Let me move a lot. Off he goes. Bye bye, cuckoo. Kathy in Arizona, how many prides of lion are there in Djuma? And I don't quite understand the other part of the question. Do they breed within the pride? I'm not too sure if I'm follow what that. I don't quite understand that. Kathy, it's not so much how many prides of lion there are within Djuma, because Djuma is smaller than the territory of a pride of lion. So there are a number of different lion prides who you will traverse Djuma, that will cover Djuma as part of their home ranges. But I suppose it would be more accurate to ask how many prides of lion there are within the Sabi Sand, because the Sabi Sand is a very, very big area that has a number of different lion prides. And the answer to that is I don't really know, because I don't know. I mean, there is a vast area that is covered. Lion pride territories here probably are up to maybe anywhere between 5, 8, even 10,000 hectares. Djuma is only 1,000 hectares, so Djuma is the size of a territory of a leopard. Which is one of the reasons why when we have lion like we had the other night with the kahumas, we're lucky to have them on Djuma for that brief period. By that they were already off of Djuma. By the next morning it was probably at least 6 or 7 miles away, I believe, up near Koro, which is quite a distance from here. Another pride that used to visit Djuma was a pride by the name of the Styx pride. I believe that it was probably at least 6 or 7 miles away, I believe, up near Koro, which is quite a distance from here. Another pride that used to visit Djuma was a pride by the name of the Styx pride. I believe that we're south now. And there's a coalition of 4 males known as the Birmingham Boys. They come from a property to, I think, to the northeast, if I'm not mistaken. They're starting to expand their ranges. There's a couple of males known as the Solati males. They must come up maybe from the south. I'm still familiarizing myself. I do have, there's quite a bit of literature that I've got here. I want to get through it. And it's not only getting through it, it's getting it stuck in my head, because I need to read it a while. It's a little bit too much information too quickly to try and absorb the updates of all the different prides and where they are and what's happening. So there are a number of different prides that will come through Djuma. It's not a case of there being prides in Djuma that don't leave Djuma, because Djuma is such a small area. In fact, we have in the past even followed line right across Djuma from one side to the other in the space of maybe even less than an hour. As for the question of whether they breed within the pride, well, yes, that's what the pride is the breeding core of that is. See, I don't quite understand. Pride of lion, that is a pride, that is a family. The females within the pride. Pride's made up of any number of females. Sometimes, depending on different conditions, sometimes you might only have one at one point. There's no set rule. There's no fixed number. There's no fixed way things are done in nature. Nature is all random. So invariably within a pride, you have a core group of females and their youngsters. And the youngsters, any females that there might be, will grow up and will likely stay with the pride. Most likely, not always. Elephant slipped down there. The young males will leave the pride from about the age of 3. They won't be tolerated. As far as the males are concerned, the male tenureship of a pride changes every few years. It needs to change every few years, and new males will come in and pretty much take over the core territory area of a pride, but the females will stay the same. In fact, it's the females that run the core territory, and they will either attract males to come and stay, or males will come in, cause a bit of havoc, and if there's no immediate chance of them being successful at breeding, they're likely to move on until they can find a pride, take over an area where even through killing the cubs they can have access to females and produce their own. Hippo tracks. I think let's go up to the east a little bit. Morning, Jack. Long Island Jack. Great to hear from you, Jack. And thanks for the welcome back. Jack is a retired police officer of Nassau County, I think it was, the K9 unit. So I'd like to find Jack some dogs. There were some dogs actually around the other day, Jack. Some wild dog. African wild dog, African hunting dog. Oh, I forgot about that rock. What happens when you're not around for a while? Forgetting about certain bumps in certain roads like that. To set the cameraman's heart beating. Or just make it uncomfortable. As long as the thumb is okay. As long as the thumb didn't fall off the car. Thumb's still there. It's too bumpy. Better get the other radio a sec. The other lodges, just had to get a bit of an update, see what was going on. Also they needed a bit of an update to know what was going on this side of the world. NFTR, nothing further to report. NFTR. Not too much. Just a lovely morning, really beautiful morning. I was wondering. Our camera's got a mind of its own this morning. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. What, I think there was a question while I was talking on the other radio about the size of Djuma. Vian, can you just confirm that? There might be some elephants nearby. Paul, Twitter, that's what it was. Thank you. Well, hello Paul. Wanting to know how big Djuma is, the size of Djuma. Djuma is about the actual property owned by Yuri. By Djuma, property known as Gari. It's about 1,000 hectare, and that equates to about just over 2.2 2,200 acres, I think. So it's 2.2 to the hectare. Been a lot of elephant here, but it looks like we're here in the rain while it was raining. Sadly not very fresh. But Djuma is not self-contained. Djuma is part of a much bigger reserve area known as the Sabi Sand Game Reserve. The Sabi Sand Game Reserve is comprised of many different privately owned properties, of which Djuma is one of them. Some of them are much larger. There are some properties that are up to 15,000 hectares or more. And it was, I think, in the late 50s that all these properties decided to drop their internal fencing and create the Sabi Sand Private Game Reserve. At the time, it was self-contained. It was separate from Kruger itself, separated by just a mere sort of cattle fence, not a very major fence. I have to show you a flower. A very small flower, so I just wanted to get right next to it. It's going to be in the sun. Is that too close? Because it's a small flower, you want to get right close up on top of it. They look pea-like because they do belong to the same family, the legume family. This is a legume. It's known as the caterpillar pod. This tree doesn't really grow into much of a tree. Very spiny little branches. It's always a scraggly little thing because of the amount of browse that takes place on this tree. The leaves are very palatable for most things. The little pods, bean pods, I guess, as most legumes are, the little pods are covered in hairs that look like make it look like a hairy caterpillar. Hence the name caterpillar pod. Beautiful flowers on the caterpillar pod. Just another flower for the ladies this morning. In the 1990s, early 1990, 92, about 92, when the Kruger Park incorporated the Sabi Sand into its overall area to allow a greater freedom of movement for the animals. And so that fence came down between the Sabi Sand and Kruger. So if that gives you an idea, Djuma is about 1,000 hectares, the Sabi Sand is probably around 60,000 hectares or just under, and then the Greater Kruger National Park is probably about well over 2.5 million hectares. So while we only have the 1,000 hectares of Djuma to contend with, of lion tracks, lovely. But I don't know, these might have been from when the kahumas came in, although there's been some. That's a male. We'll go that way shortly. I just want to have a look this way first. These tracks, although the tracks are coming from there, I just want to, before I drive on them, establish some sort of idea of time frame. Back to Shangaan names, lion in Shangaan is Ngala, Ngala. One again, two consonants next to each other, the N and the G. Ngala. Not quite a silent N. We've had rain since those lion were about, so this could be fairly fresh lion. Let's go back, see what we can do about those lion tracks. I'm going to I think we'll go down onto Drakensberg Drive. Not a great area for tracking because it's very grassy, very hard. Not much in the way of sand there. But I believe there has been a vehicle on this road already. Might have missed these tracks that were on the edge of the road. Dead for some time, but all around the base in a perfect circle are these fungi. That's very interesting. I can't get that sort of a view with my camera, but that's sort of illustrates it perfectly. You can see that perfect ring of fungi, and it must be very specific in the conditions that they need to grow. Wow. Okay. Chris was asking what qualities make a good tour guide. Well, there's one thing that for me is the most important, especially if I'm looking for guides or for me to assess a guide, and that is a passion, an understanding and a respect for nature. There are far too many nature guides, well, they're not even nature guides, they're Land Rover jockeys. They are guys that just do this for the fun of it. They race around the bush listening to the radio. Excuse me, I'm just trying to... Things are warming up. I need to take off some layers. Still got another layer to get off it. Gets hot quickly when the sun comes out. And to try and get my earpiece in. See, this road doesn't have much in the way of sand, this part of it, for me to follow up on that line. But maybe further on it might be a bit muddy, or might have more luck. But the respect, the understanding, and especially the passion for nature and doing this not as a job but doing it for the love of it, that's the most important, because then you see, when you do something from your heart, when you do something that you love doing, there's no need to work at it, because you'll automatically succeed, or you'll automatically do well. And for a number of guides that don't do this for the passion, for a number of guys that do this for a year or two because they want to have an experience before they get serious and settle down in the city with a family, they will never get the understanding, but most importantly of all, they don't have the respect for the wildlife. And that comes across, I'm sure, to the guests or the people that they take out. You see, with that kind of understanding and passion, knowledge builds up over time, because you can't help but absorb everything that you see. And for the guys that are just doing it for a short time, the way the lodges work and with the way the radios work is that they don't really need to learn too much. They just need to listen to the radio and find out where the animals are and race from one animal to another. They're the kind of guys that battle a little bit when there aren't many animals to be seen. Now, let's see, this is an interesting road, Mamba Road, because this is a road that will show if that cat came down this way. Not looking like it. Didn't come here, I don't think. I need to be able to pick up those tracks. There's civet tracks that from a civet that was drinking at this puddle. Maybe not. Maybe if I go this side a little bit. Tiny little cat-like tracks. Yeah, there you go. Probably just over an inch long, medium-sized civet. Nocturnal creature, the civet, belongs to the mongoose family, although it is called a civet cat. It is not a true cat. Wow, beautiful sky now. I think the rain is over. I think it's going to be a hot and humid, beautiful day. And I think there will be some flowers out in the next, soon. maybe if we go down, let's go down Battalier Road. Email address for questions, or if you have anything to say, questions at WildEarthTV is our email address. And, although a lot of questions are coming through on Twitter, the thread on Twitter, hashtag Safari Live. Just a reminder about that. There are some that might not know. Welcome if you're viewing for the first time. If you're just joining us, my name is Mark. Brian is on camera. Djuma is in final control in our control room. And a little while ago I had a lion track, just 2 paw prints, all I could see. They looked like they could have come from last night because there was a bit of rain, and it looks like they were possibly after the rain. I've been trying to crisscross the trajectory of that lion, seeing if it crossed any or walked on any of the road. Now that track was very faint, so it wouldn't have come up on camera. I need to find one that's in the mud, find a wet track, and maybe I could show you, but so far I haven't found anything. Which means he could still be up that way, not far from where I left the track. Or it could have gone back up onto the cut line, which we will get to. We'll go up that way and make a big loop around down to the Mulwati River, and then back again up to see the cut line, and hopefully see some things in the process of covering this ground. If you see any red berries that are about that size, let me know if I missed them. Can't believe I haven't found a sour plum yet, and they've been fruiting for almost a couple of weeks now. To do with a little bit of a vitamin C boost. tank. After the rain, the sand in the riverbed like this would be an easy tell for tracks. It's the best place. Some of the roads, the soil is, or rather the ground is very, very hard after the rain. Even the weight of a lion doesn't really make much of an impression. Compounded by the fact that vehicles have been driving after the rain, so not always aware of tracks. Sometimes vehicles drive over them and it makes it a little bit difficult. If you miss one track, it can throw you off completely. It might be what has happened to me. Hippo. I'm not actively following any tracks at the moment. What I'm doing is I'm trying to pick up tracks by, I guess, just by driving different roads in the direction that I think the line was moving. The biggest problem was that there wasn't really any decent substrate within quite a big radius of where I saw those last tracks, and I haven't seen anything since. Which in itself could be fairly good news, which means that it might not have travelled this far to have crossed this road or the previous road that I was on. This is now taking me to another road. I don't really expect there to be anything here, but I might be wrong. This is a road that gets me to another road that goes back up towards where that line was headed. Breaking up a little bit. Confirm Raptor. Or maybe just repeat the whole thing. Oh, cat, not raptor, cat. Marco, hello Marco, New Jersey. But what, is there a... Oh, track. Favorite track to see? No, not really. I can't really say that. Any track sometimes can get exciting because sometimes when the ground is dry, it's difficult when it's wet. Tracks age differently in the wet and the dry. And when it is wet, the ground is a lot harder. I see a tortoise in the road. See it? It's going into some bushes. Alright, it's gone. Sorry, I'm not in the habit of, just because a tortoise has gone into thickets, I'm not in the habit of going in there to take it out. I don't like disturbing them. I don't like to handle them because it stresses them out. In fact, I get quite angry when people pick up tortoises because, well, it's just wrong. I've had to, there's been times when I've had to, and I'll move them gently, but generally speaking, I like to leave things alone. Leave them be. So, track-wise, when it's dry and there's soft sand, animal tracks can be very distinct and they age very quickly, especially if there's wind. And as a result, it sometimes gets very exciting to find very fresh cat tracks, whether it's leopard or cheetah. And you know that they're close by because you can see how sharp the tracks are and how fresh they are. At home I get excited to see elephant tracks because I like to spend time with elephants. I guess mostly because I have a very small area to cover. It's about a third of the size, not even a third, maybe closer to a quarter of the size of Djuma. And it's a long, very narrow property, so cats can cross that property if they're moving east to west within 10 minutes. That can be from one side to the other. So I guess I do get excited when there are cat tracks at home because cats have been there, but I don't get that excited because I know that they could be off of the property by the time I find the tracks, unless of course I hear them and they're right outside my door. But elephants, on the other hand, can spend a little bit longer in a place. Well, they too can move quickly. I think about 2 minutes is the quickest I've seen elephant cross our property. Excuse me, thank you. But I like just to see tracks because it gives me an idea of who's been around. I wake up every morning, I take my tea outside when I'm alone. I often make some tea and walk around on the road that comes past my house, or the driveway coming into my house. And it can kind of set the mood for the day, because if there are tracks of whatever it may be, it's nice to know that those animals were around during the night. I don't necessarily have to see them all the time, because not because I'm blasé, but because I'm comfortable just being in their lives, in their territory, in their area, living amongst them. And it's always a bonus when I do see them. I don't do drives very often. It costs a lot of money in petrol to drive around endlessly. I do walk around quite a bit because I like to see a lot of the small things. See, with the flowers come a whole host of insects. Beautiful coloured insects. And you can't like flowers without liking the insects, and you can't like insects without liking flowers. Been elephant here. Maybe head a little bit further north before we get back up onto cheetah cut line. Soft sandy patches, not showing up anything at all. Live safari, where nothing is edited. Spiderweb. No, but if there is, guys. Didn't see that from. Maybe if I was facing the sun. Freshly. Hello, Jackie in Minnesota. Jackie's just noticed that some elephants have big ears, some elephants have small ears. Now, I'm not too sure whether you're referring to only African elephants, Jackie, or whether it is that you're comparing African elephants with Asian elephants. Because the Asian elephants have very small ears in comparison to the African elephant. And then with African elephants within the population, well, the ear size is in proportion to body size and to age. So Jackie, if you could maybe just be a little bit more specific on that question, because it would mean something else if you're referring to only African elephants. And then we would have to be sitting with a herd, I suppose, to be able to discuss that. It's hard to talk about if I'm not too sure what you mean. Best to actually have a herd of elephants, have a look at each individual, and I'll show you that it's more in proportion to size than anything else. And that, yes, perhaps in much the same way as some of us have slightly bigger pinnae, slightly bigger earlobes than other people, some whose earlobes stick out a little bit, or not lobes but ears. The ears of each individual are different, so it could well be maybe you just saw two different individuals in the same herd that had slightly different ears. But it's the variation, or rather the size difference, not going to be as marked or as distinct as it is between the two types of elephant, African and Asian, or even the forest elephant, which they think is now actually a different species entirely, rather than just a subspecies of Loxodonta africana. It probably will be a Loxodont, but maybe not Loxodonta africana. Not too sure how far they've got in terms of reclassifying the forest elephant of Central Africa. Much smaller elephant. So Jackie, is it the same elephants or rather is it elephants within one area or just elephants in general? That is the question. Look at that. Well, the reason why I didn't find any tracks anywhere else is because he must have gone off of the road and then come back onto this road, but he's also headed north, this cat, and these tracks are not as fresh. A bit of a drizzle on them. Maybe I misread the first tracks that I saw, but most likely the same male lion to tracks that I saw. They're still going north. I'm just going to go a little bit further down to Central Road, turn around at Central, and we'll head up to Buffelshoek. So this is either Birmingham boys, although I'm not seeing four. Might be two individuals, in which case might be Salati males. Might have a better idea on this junction coming up. And then we'll go back to the north. Someone was asking about monkey orange fruit. I think it might have been Teresa. None of the monkey oranges are in fruit at the moment. We might be lucky to find one old fruit hanging on somewhere, but I've been looking. There's some very big monkey orange stands, groves as it were. So I'm just going to do a foot patrol, just do a loop around here because of the junction of various roads. Give me an idea of track. I also want to take off a layer because I'm getting hot with this elephant under my shirt. Can you see my elephant? I'm an elephant. So just give me a moment. I'm not going to strip in front of the camera. sky. No. Alright, let's head north. That's where cat tracks were going anyway. Oh. I love my shirt too, although the shirt must have shrunk, especially around the stomach. There are some boot prints here, so there has been somebody out on foot also, probably looking. Hello Misty. Misty's best. Hello Misty. Wanting to know if serval and caracal sightings are common here at Djuma. Simply answered no, Misty, unfortunately not. Very, very seldom. I think I've seen maybe 2 serval here in all the years of being here, and I have yet to see a caracal here. I know they occur, I haven't seen one. Just are not around. Not that they're not around. I mean, we do find tracks occasionally, but I'm looking at mistletoe. But they're very, very shy cats. Serval tend to only favour long grass, more open grassland areas. We have had serval on quarantine before. I remember Tara and I had serval on quarantine. We just couldn't get it on camera. We just missed getting it on camera one evening. And caracal, maybe it's a little bit too thick for caracal. What's that in the road? Steenbok. Pair of steenbok. Mama and Papa. Tend to have a monogamous relationship, steenbok. One doesn't always see them together, although they are. She's always within his territory. Everything he does for her territory as well. Or was that 2 males? Didn't get to see them too well. Caracal perhaps more common in drier or more arid regions. I know I've maybe had more caracal encounters up in the Timbavati. You know, Timbavati is almost in a straight line north of here. Maybe, oh, I don't know. I'd have to look on Google Earth, try and get an idea of the distance. The Timbavati itself starts not far away, but I'm right up in the northern part of the Timbavati, so I'm a good maybe 30, 40, even maybe 50, no, not 50, 30 or 40 miles north of here. But it's a much drier region, much more, or much lower rainfall, more arid, different vegetation. We don't get these large fruited combretums, which are pretty dominant here in this part of the world. Afshen kokot.
Yo kokot.
Minjan no.
Yung gibe.
Ai.
Robert.
Ya. Kumbul. Ya. Ya. Kumbul ame.
Ja, nanti kita
3 years.
Ini ya, sure.
Abon nili.
Ibu nang
Chu. Nama. Okay, Robert.
Okay, sure.
Monggo. Papakas ini.
Okay.
Someone I haven't seen for 3 years, Robert from another one of the camps. Chris. Chris the Rogue. Hello, Chris. Chris still wants a honey badger. I think Chris has been waiting a few years for this honey badger. Chris, we might be lucky one evening, one of these days, towards the end of drive. We were, when was it? I can't remember, it was on Monday maybe? Oh, here are these lion tracks heading north, so I think we can forget about these lion. We're on our northeastern corner right now, and these lion tracks have gone across. Anyways, we were closed down for the night. We were on our way back to our camp up in Manyaleti, and we had to stop by the repeater to switch off an inverter. And lo and behold, 2 sub-adult honey badgers were trotting along the road in front of us. For Alex, it was his very first honey badgers ever, so he was quite excited about that. And I was quite surprised actually, because normally honey badgers, it's a quick glimpse. If the camera's not pointing in the right direction, you'll miss it. They're very shy. They're very bold when they need to be, when it comes to raiding kitchens and fridges and trash bins, because boy, they can get into anything. They are incredibly powerful, quite comical. And they're notorious for being aggressive, but it's more just they're just very offensive. They very seldom get on the defensive. So for them, going straight onto the offensive is their, I suppose, tactic, their MO of frightening the daylight out of especially humans, which tower above them, but predominantly nocturnal. I've occasionally seen honey badgers during the day. In fact, the kind of weather we've been having the last couple of days with drizzle and overcast weather is the type of weather that I've seen honey badgers during the day. And this is the wonderful thing about what we're doing, and hopefully while you're following us, there's an impala with a brand new baby. And that is because we could come around this next bend, there could be a honey badger digging a hole. There goes mom and brand new baby. See, she is apart from the herd. She's come away from the herd to give birth. She needs to spend a couple of days with the little one before they rejoin the herd, just so that she can bond with it, and that maternal bond can set in, knowing, especially for the little one, more for the little one's sake, they've gone quite deep in, to know who mother is, because if little one just goes up to any ewe, she's liable to get shunned, or it's liable to get pushed away. And a little one that isn't with mom for very long can be ostracized, because the longer it's away from mom and it can't find mom, if it doesn't know who mom is, the longer it will bleat and make a noise and cause a distraction, but not only that, but maybe attract a predator to the herd, which the herd doesn't want. And well, that's how they can become either abandoned or cat food, or snake food, or eagle food, or jackal food. Baby impala, unfortunately, are the size animal that is small enough for even some of the smallest of predators, and yet still enough of a treat for something like a leopard. Juvenile bateleur flying overhead. See if catch that. There you go. Very distinct flight pattern of the bateleur. Almost like a rocking flight. This is a juvenile, still got a little bit of a tail. As juveniles, their tails are quite distinct, but as adults they have a much shortened tail. And without that stabilizer of the tail in flight, they do tend to rock in flight a lot. Very typical of this type of eagle, the bateleur snake eagle. Now called, I think, the short-tailed snake eagle. But that can't be right. Give the birds a name that implies, yeah, 10 points on that. Follow an eagle in flight. Time for some water. Cheers, everybody. Oh, sorry. There are a couple of species of hibiscus that we've got here at the moment, wild hibiscus that's flowering. If I'm not mistaken, that's a purple one. It's a purple variety of a yellow species. And I'm going to try and just get a little branch off a little bit to see that. And then there's that thing that looks like an orchid, but it's not an orchid. This is a first for me. Seeing a pink one of this particular species. Not purple, what color would you call that? Pinkish. I'm going to see if that's going to come out on my camera just for an example. Look at that. I'd like to get closer, but it's driving over things. Interesting. I'm going to find a yellow one of this variety, of this species. It must be the same species because it's the identical flower. There you go. Flower for all you ladies out there. In the cyber world. best I can do. Until you come to Africa when I can give you a flower in person. Except we'll have to leave it on the plant. Unless it's a flower and it's a tree that's flowering profusely, then in which case I'll be able to take one or pick one off of the ground. We have a baobab in camp up at Manyeleti that's got flowers on the flick. Beautiful flowers that hang upside down and get pollinated by bats. Big flowers, big as my hand. Nocturnal blooms. They tend to close up during the day. Oops. I think this afternoon we'll have to go and explore Arathusa a little bit. So a quick stop at the hippos here. This is Buffelshoek Dam, and we'll just have a quick greeting to the hippos. The pied kingfishers. That's a new one for now. Weren't here the other day. No, I'm sure they are here often. We've filmed kingfishers doing some wonderful things.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you again.
Thank you. Something tickling my nose. Okay, onward ho. Bye hippos, sleep well. They're all going to bed now. Come out of the water at night and can cover quite an amount of ground. Morning Clancy, nice to hear from you. The biggest owl in South Africa is perhaps the giant eagle owl, which we now call Vero's eagle owl. Same Vero who the eagle is named after, Vero's eagle. Not to be confusing, but Vero's eagle and Vero's eagle owl are two different. Not nearly as big as the eagle, but it is our biggest owl. It is of the bubo family, or rather the genus Bubo. Bubolacteus. Mucky eagle owl. Another name for it. Probably not as big as the great horned owl. But it'd be nice to know the size of the great horned versus the size of the eagle owl. they'll come back and go away again. Gardenia fruit. And they're getting quite big. Probably not likely to get more gardenia flowers. And these are going to grow a lot bigger. Now, this is coffee family, so I believe you can actually use the seed of these gardenia fruits to roast them and make a coffee substitute. But the fruits themselves are not edible. Well, they're not palatable at least. And from the gardenia to a tortoise on the ground and a kingfisher above it. And if this kingfisher just stays there, I wonder if the kingfisher is hoping the tortoise chases insects. Okay, we're going to lose that tortoise. The woodlands kingfisher. The wonderful woodlands kingfisher. Unusual to have it sitting so close to the road, so close to us. Okay. Tortoises sadly moved into the thicket under this thick grasses, deep bent grass. Can't even see it anymore. She didn't even budge. That's the third hingeback tortoise I've seen this thing. We have two types of tortoises here. The leopard tortoise, speak hingeback tortoise, and a hingeback tortoise is supposedly the rarer of the two, less common. Maybe not rarer, but just simply less common. Nyala, squeezing past some Nyala, heading into thick bush. Oh, there you go. Come, there's a little baby coming across the road. And then big brother. Oh. So I've seen more of the hingeback than the leopard tortoise, and that's unusual because the leopard tortoise is a much more common tortoise. Or it was. Maybe the dynamics have changed. Maybe the Speaks hingeback tortoises are surviving better from infancy than the leopard tortoises because there are too many things eating the leopard tortoises. Now this is interesting because the last time I was at this big knobthorn, with this little fig growing out of it. There's a little fig that's growing out of this knobthorn, the fork of it. And I remember we used to look at the root, one of the aerial roots of this fig, winding its way down the trunk of the tree. But since I was last here, first of all, the main root itself has been snapped off by an elephant. So there are other aerial roots that are starting to climb down the tree. But elephants have been stripping bark on this tree, so they must have stripped the bark where the roots of the fig was. Fig's still surviving. Those roots will eventually touch the ground. They were nearly on the ground before. Now they've got to start all over again. The size of the fig hasn't really changed much in 3 years. If any of you remember us looking at this fig tree that's growing in this big knobthorn, and it hasn't really changed size, or hardly. Maybe grown an extra little branch or two. Give you an idea of how fast things grow, which when you look at a big tree like the size of this knobthorn that it's growing in, must tell you that this knobthorn must have been here for a good few decades, if not a century or more. I'd say it's got to be over, probably close to 200 at least. Huge, very, very big tree. Maybe even 300 years old. Very slow growing. And then where I live, where there's even half the amount of rainfall that everything gets here, they grow even slower. For the info, just for Clancy benefit perhaps, but also for any of you who are interested, I was under the impression that maybe the great horned owl was a bit bigger than our giant eagle owl, but it's not. Our giant eagle owl is bigger than the great horned owl. Great horn standing just under 2 feet tall, and the giant eagle owl can be over 2 feet. Elephant have been having fun here in the mud. Must have been yesterday. And also Carol, thank you Carol. Also mailed that through. You're going to paint it now, Carol. It's sour plum, but it's got no fruit on it. There's a couple of bushes here. This is all sour plum, but none of them have got fruit. Maybe the monkeys have eaten them all. very persistent orange-breasted bush shrike in the distance. I guess he's getting desperate. None of the ladies like his song. I wonder if those giraffe are and about on quarantine. This is the area below the dam wall. Often cats down there. Lovely area. Oh, one of those more animals are in hiding. Started off nice, you know. But there could still be more rain coming. A lot of little signs out here that I'm looking at that tell me that maybe there's still some rain to come. The ants are still building little mounds above their entrances. Now, these are not ant hills that are rather termite mounds that are erroneously called ant hills. Quite simply little mounds of sand that are only an inch or two high on the ground. That tend to put the entrances to the burrows so that when it does rain it forms a little bit of a cap over the entrances. Let's just see if we can get up to the open area before we say goodbye. Just thinking that maybe those giraffe are back up there, or still there, out in the open. I might have dallied too long places. So I wanted to try and get back here. Since we opened and we had giraffe at the beginning, it'd be nice. I thought we could just say goodbye to them too. And then we were sidetracked by an elephant, and then sidetracked by other things. Oh, African hoopoe just flew up out of the road. So just for your benefit, for those of you who wanted to know, I will be out this afternoon. I'm going to put Brian and Vim in a cage, and whoever comes out first will be the one that will be on camera. And the other will be in final control. Unfortunately, we have not resolved the issue with Jigger. Led to believe that it might be something hidden behind the dashboard here in front of me. The engine the computerized unit that, I suppose the ECU is called, the electronic control unit, controls the electronics to the car, that is cutting it out all the time, and you got to sit for an hour. So thanks very much for joining. My name is Brian, was on camera, VMNFC. Love you lots. Bye bye. So thanks very much for joining.